that was almost it. That was almost.
Was it close?
Welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast. I want to welcome my guest today, Mickey Dykeman. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I've been a nightmare to schedule. So
it has been interesting.
Yeah.
But, you know,
here I am.
I don't expect people in stand-up comedy to be great at scheduling
or anything. or any actual skills.
General planning.
Yeah. I think it was Danton who was like, you need to make it so that you can pay someone to do this for you. And I was like, thank you for believing in me. Yeah.
Delegate.
I can handle like 4 things in my brain at once. And then it starts to fall apart. It does. I kept telling people, I was like, once I get married, what am I gonna, I can't say I got wedding brain. It's just, I'm just here being stupid now.
Do you find in your marriage, like, does your partner take on certain, like, more executive tasks?
You want to know what's disturbing? I do a lot of our admin. Isn't that horrifying?
Oh my God.
I do our taxes. And they're always so appreciative of me doing our taxes. And I'm like, yeah, you say that now. And then one day we're going to get audited and we're going to be fucked.
But I imagine you're good with a task, like, once you're with it.
It's that
right?
ADHD thing. Yeah. Once I start doing it, it's fine. It's just it's honestly, yeah, scheduling is like stuff. And I have so many jobs and so many things. And it's like, it can be hard for me to keep track of them. Yeah. Anyway, but then I am grown, so I don't know.
Do you have a main job?
Like
outside of comedy and entertainment?
No, I'm full-time in entertainment. And people are like, what's that like? I'm like, well, not glamorous. That's part of why I think I have trouble scheduling, because I am my own manager too, so I am just scheduling my whole life. Yeah, this is just turning into me talking about admin. That's fun. Sexy.
I kind of do want to know though, because I think you have to, like, you're functioning like this because you have a lot of different things you're doing. Like, you're with Black Sheep, you're with the lab.
Yeah, a lot of irons in the fire, as they say. And I mean, I've wanted to be an artistic professional since I was a little kid, because my mom was like, you're gay, this is what you need to do. She was like, you're gonna do theater, that's what you're gonna do. And then I was like, okay.
How young did your mom know you were gay?
I don't know, but here's the thing, I was visibly trans as soon as you know when babies start to get to an age where they have personalities?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I had a personality, I was pretty clearly
a little boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to go around in our small town and tell people my name was Thomas.
Oh, no.
And it's a small town. My dad's a priest. Like, people knew who I was.
Okay, I get thrown when you say your dad's a priest, because to me, a priest is Catholic. So I'm like, he should not have any kids.
I know. I wish, honestly, I've said that before, it would be a way better, like, it would be a much more interesting story. You know, it would be a little scandalous, but no, he's like lovingly married. It's very boring.
What's the denomination?
Anglican. And Anglicans,
I didn't know they were called priests.
People will default to different things, like Anglican priest, Anglican minister. Some people do reverend, people
okay.
They apply what they want. Catholics are the only ones that are like priest. That's what it is. I feel like Baptists are usually pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Anglicans, I hear them use everything just to confuse people.
I guess too, I grew up partly in the Orthodox Church, and they have priests.
Which Orthodox? Or Catholic? Greek
Orthodox. And they have, I think they're called priests, but they're also married.
Yeah. Like, Catholics are the only ones that don't let them.
Yeah.
Yeah, every other one is like, well, that's unreasonable. It's insane. And then we wonder why they have all these problems. But it's like, yeah. You ever say things on the internet and you're like, oh, I'm glad my parents don't know how to use the internet. Do your parents use the internet?
My dad is 91 years old.
And he's up on it.
He's my biggest fan.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
I'm really impressed. Like, he hasn't gotten into conspiracy theories yet. He hasn't been radicalized in any embarrassing way.
He's not in the Rogan-verse.
He's watching my YouTube.
Oh,
and he's like,
hi,
really...
Dad. This one's for you.
Okay, so
pouring one out for Dad.
So you're a little kid. A little boy in Napanee.
Currently,
a little gay boy in Napanee, Ontario.
Yeah, this is wild times.
And how was that for your dad?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been, my grandmother's phrases it, oh, you're a riot. You're a riot. Like, I've always been eccentric. And my grandfather, who's very beloved in my family, was a highly eccentric, gregarious man. And I think I remind my family of him. Oh. So I think there was often actually like a sort of sentimental, like I do something like weird.
You repeat his personality?
Yeah, and I think I do something weird and they'd be like, oh, it's Grampy Dyke. That is actually what they called him. People don't think Dykeman is a real name, and I'm like, no, that's my mom's maiden name. Like yep. So I don't know, and it was the kind of thing too where I didn't give them an option. Like it wasn't until high school that I started to really repress that stuff. Yeah.
I feel like even outside of like gay stuff, it is sort of like true. Like little kids are themselves.
They do what they do. They are who they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're taught to worry about that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes if you're in a really oppressive situation, you learn younger. But if you let a kid be a kid, they're just gonna be who they want. Like they're not. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you run into a friend you knew in kindergarten,
yeah,
who they are as an adult makes sense. But if you only knew someone in high school, you run into them and be like, what happened to you?
Yeah. High school is not a good marker for who you're gonna be. I feel like that high school you're experimenting and you're insecure. That's gonna be your lowest confidence. And if it's not, fuck you. I don't know. My dad, I gotta say, like by the time I came out as trans, I'd come out as gay. I told them I got my Bachelor of Arts. Like there were so many things. So he was like, oh, okay, that. He was really nice, actually. I think he respected that I came out and told them. Yeah, I don't know. He's a good guy. He's like an old barn cat. He's just chilling. People find out he's a priest and they're like, "Oh my God," and I'm like, there were things like that from other people, but he's just hanging out. I don't know. He's just his big thing is he'll lay down on a carpet in someone's home and just fall asleep. Like he's a cat. He's not a human man. Like he's chilling. Yeah, and he officiated my wedding, and it was a gender neutral ceremony. Like he's on board.
Oh my God. Yeah. So did you get married in the church you grew up in?
No.
Where was the ceremony?
We didn't get married in a church. We got married, and our church's not religious, and they've never been religious. We got married at a place called the Foy House. Shout out Foy House. Really nice lady. Just a Victorian house in the village.
Ooh.
And we got it for a really good price because we got married at a weird time on a weird day.
It was around Christmas, right?
It was December 30th in the afternoon. That's not like people. It's after Christmas, before New Year's. Like we didn't want anybody to come, so that's. So we didn't. But he officiated though.
The Foy House, is that like named after the people who owned it?
Probably.
And it's just a gorgeous old.
It's a very pretty house. It's got a really nice staircase. It's just a pretty old house.
That's what I'm about at a wedding is the aesthetics.
We were going for cozy Christmas. That was the energy. So hopefully, I think we got that. Our photos, we were like, wow, we're so hot. What, like, we look like picture frame people. It's amazing. Anyway,
I love it.
I just want to take our wedding photos and put them into frames and then put those in Walmart and see if anyone notices. So stupid.
Is Archer also from the town Napanee? No.
Nice big swallow for you. They were born in Kingston, Ontario, but they grew up internationally. Their dad has he worked for Bombardier for a long time. Like he has a big job, and so they grew up in Germany, South Africa, Chile for a little while. Like,
that's crazy.
They're very interesting.
Where did they spend their teen years?
South Africa.
Ooh.
Which is a hell of a place to bring your teenagers.
So they're part evil.
Yeah, exactly. They're personal friends with Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon comes to our bachelor for Christmas.
If I was putting a villain in a movie or
They'd
show,
be South African.
Yeah, that to me is like the villain accent.
It's a wild place. It's a hopping spot. But no, they were there, and then they moved back to Kingston when in grade 12, so right at the end of high school, and that's when we met.
Okay. You were both in grade 12?
Yeah.
You met at school?
Yeah, we met.
So you married your high school sweetheart?
Almost. High school sweetheart adjacent. Because we actually had a crush on each other. Like, there was definitely a spark, but neither of us were confident enough to really do anything about it, and then we got scooped up by more confident gays.
Oh.
And we didn't start, and then we went to the same university, and that's how we reconnected.
School?
Formerly Ryerson, currently TMU. I got beef with TMU, I'll tell you why. Not for controversial reasons. They asked the student body to vote for the new mascot, and I was like, the TMU emu, it's right there. And they didn't do that. Obvious. They did something completely stupid. It's the TMU bold, which means nothing.
Bold?
BOLD. Exactly.
Like the bold,
like
the beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so. It's a concept.
I know. That's very abstract for a school that's supposed to be practical. Like,
yeah.
I hate it so
my
much.
God.
I was really angry. I think that's disturbing choice.
Yeah.
I do. Truly. Yeah.
And
anyway.
their new name sucks. TMU, like it's
Toronto Metropolitan
it doesn't
University.
Mean anything.
No, it
like
doesn't.
It's just vague.
Any university in Toronto is metropolitan.
And you already have a University of Toronto, so it's just confusing.
It is. Maybe they
like
were
if
just
you're
trying
a foreigner
to
trying to
people,
figure out the difference between those schools, you don't.
Maybe maybe they're trying to like pull a hijinks. They thought they'd get more foreign students if they just confused them into thinking they were going to University of Toronto.
I just like things to have personality.
Yeah.
Like, TMU emu would have personality. That would be very cool.
Yeah, emus are pretty intense animals. They can run really. I think it's great anyway. But they didn't listen, so.
Amazing.
This is my thought.
So I'm confused though. So you were out when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Is that standard nowadays? Everyone's out in high school?
I think it's more common. It's certainly become, and I mean that's very Western centered, but yeah, I think it's easier to come out younger. I was being bullied already, and it wasn't clearly not a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, they're already calling me, gay. I may as well. Fuck. Can I swear on this?
You can swear away.
Oh,
please do.
Nice. Don't watch this if you're from. I don't know. Yeah. So I came out because they knew it was not. Like there was no reason not to. So yeah. So I came out as gay. And then I didn't come out as trans till I was in my 20s.
Did you know?
Yeah.
How young did you know?
3. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. I'm telling you, as soon as I could think beyond, me sleepy, I knew. Yeah. I mean, how young did you know you were a girl, right?
Yeah. I guess some people are kind of medium though, right? Like they might just feel like, oh, gender's sort of irrelevant.
Like a genderless blob.
Yeah.
And, there's a certain degree to that. It's interesting too, like puberty. I mean, I don't think gender and sexuality fully solidify till you're at a puberty. Again, I mean, from my armchair with my arts degree, not a like that's not
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was a kid, especially, like, boy, 100% like opposite end of the spectrum, and now I'm non-binary and I go for a more androgynous thing. So it's hard to say, and that could be partially like my socialization. I think it's very complicated, but yeah, no, I knew, and I was like I think that I would get pushback, right? So then I would go even harder. Like transphobia made me more trans.
Yeah,
more like I would go more aggressively masculine because I was getting pushback from it. Yeah.
That's why I always think it's important for parents to support their kids. Like, people will be like, what if the kid's wrong? I'm like, well, then they'll find out.
Then they'll
right?
figure it out. Yeah, exactly. And people will be like, how do you know you're gay? And I'll be like, how did you know you're straight? Like, I don't know. I think any straight person that says that should have to have gay sex. You know what I mean? Like, I think that just feels tit for tat. That feels fair. You don't know. How do you know? Yeah.
I love it. So when you went to TMU, what did you take?
Film.
So you knew.
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to do stand-up?
No. Stand-up was a surprise for sure. So in film school, I specialized in writing, like screenplay writing, and I didn't know it was always going to be I didn't go in thinking I'm going to be a comedy writer, but it always ended up being that. Like I always ended up going down a humorous route, and then. Excuse me. And then after I always found myself going to a funny place. And then after school, I kind of floundered a little bit. Not in just in okay, I have a BFA. Now what?
Classic.
Yeah, exactly. And I was working on some things, and then someone was like, you should try stand-up. I tried stand-up, and it didn't go terribly. And I've continued to do it. What I like about stand-up is the writing process is very exhilarating, being able to get your writing in front of someone immediately. Because film and television, the average feature film in Canada takes 10 years to make.
Jesus.
That's the average. And it's just not a fast-moving industry. And so you're writing, and you're writing, and you're writing, and you're like, I hope this is good. I hope this is good. And writing, only showing it to other people in the industry. And then eventually, if you're lucky, you get that in front of audiences.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of writing too for film and television is you're paid for development. You don't even know if they're going to actually go and make the thing. Like, you're paid to write something. You don't know if they're going to make it, you know? So with stand-up, being able to immediately get in front of people,
almost
immediately get
opposite.
that feedback. It is, yeah. And also I like how vulnerable it is. You're not hiding behind, I mean, you might be someone who does a character, but for me, like, I am just myself. So you're not, there's no shield of characters and plot, and it's just you.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And I like, too, the way you can just talk about anything. And you could be like, you can do a really heavy bit. You can be political. You can, like, and within a set, you can switch into different modes.
Yeah.
So if this week you want to write about, like, your relationship, you can write about your relationship. And then next week you might be complaining about the government. And it's just... all the things that you think about, like, just here are my opinions.
That's why I think there's it appeals to the ADHD brain too, because there's variety. It's always something different.
Yeah.
And it's short form writing too, generally, right? Like most people's bits, the longest a bit will be is 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually when you're further along too, that you have things that are that long. So I think that appeals to me as well, that I do. It works for my process of existing. Just,
Yeah. And it's so immediate. It's so like, this is my feelings.
Immediacy is amazing.
Not filtered through a character. It's just
very raw like that. Yeah. I love it a lot. I still am writing film and television. Like, Danton and I are writing a show that is going well.
Okay, so I've been hearing about this. This is Douche Rehab?
Douche Rehab, yeah. So it's the kind of thing, too, where people are like, well, where is it? And it's like, well, that's not how the industry works. We're in development. We have partnerships with someone for post-production, someone's company that signed Rolling Pictures, Shoot Out. We have interest from some streaming services, and Leonard Chan. Do you know Leonard Chan? He does comedy? No. He was one of the head writers on Kim's Convenience.
Amazing.
And he's come on board as a co-creator and writer, and he's been helping us with our pilot.
That's incredible.
We were going to rush to camera with the fundraiser money to film the pilot to pitch, and then that opportunity presented itself. So we're getting our pilot in the writing phase as good as we possibly can before we invest in filming it, and then it's pitching it around. But it's been going very well.
I love it. Okay.
Surreal.
So will you explain the basic premise?
Mm-hmm. So it's an like an AA style sort of fellowship program, but for people who are having basically personality issues. Like it's douche rehab. And it's these four, and they're queer douches. And Leonard was like, why are they gay? Like, these awful people. And it's like, well, anyone can be awful. There's lots of characters in it that aren't gay. We just are. So those are the stories we're interested in.
I love shitty people.
I love an evil gay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And but there's like a sensitivity around like women or gay characters being portrayed really negatively, and I'm like, but that's how can we see ourselves if we're not allowed to?
And I understand that for a while when queer, like we were just getting queer, characters into main roles, you know, as well in particular. Like I get that initially, but now okay, let's just have them be people. Yeah, you know, and also these are very redeemable characters too. That's the point. That's their narrative, right? Is that they do improve. So they're in this program and they want to take it down. They don't want to be there. So they plan a overly elaborate overly elaborate scheme to take down the program, but then in the process they become friends and some of their character flaws they improve upon, and they do become better people.
I love it.
Yeah. So they're somewhat rehabilitated. Yeah, and the question, like the thematic question is, you know, can people change? Yes, we think they can.
Is there a reason you chose to do it as a show and not as a movie?
Yeah, a lot of there's just a lot more you can do with a show. Like there's so much more story to it, and it just sets itself up as an ensemble sitcom. It just kind of lends itself to that. And comedy often, I feel like comedy lends itself to television. I don't know why I feel that way.
There's something to it, like just the amount of time you can spend with a character through a serial.
And we have 4 main characters, and that would, it's not, obviously you can do that in a movie, but it's nice to be able to really get into them all. So
what would you say are like some of your top shows, not just on now but ever?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Oh God. You know when someone's like, what do you want for Christmas? And you're like, what are things?
No worries. We can come back to it.
Let me think about it. Well, you know what? My favorite show, like definitely my favorite show is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's had a huge influence on me as a writer. So that would be my number one.
I love it.
As do I. I watch a lot of stuff, so it's hard to narrow it down. But It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia would be a big
Do you have a character from that show that you relate to?
I think that, like, as a performer, Charlie Day has been a big influence on me. I used to have dysphoria about my voice as, like, a public speaker. And then I heard Charlie Day, and I was like, oh, no, I can be shrill. And it's just you're lending yourself to it. I enjoy the ensemble though,
because it's like his voice has so much personality, and then it's wonderful and lovable without being sort of classically like in.
Yeah, and it's just a high pitched voice, and it's funny, you know, too. And I like to be funny, so I kind of found a way. I kind of learned to love my voice watching Charlie, so. But I like the ensemble. I like how all those characters fit together. So I think an ensemble sitcom, this ensemble, they make one character almost, and then that's the show, if that makes sense. So they're all a personality trait of the show's personality.
Yeah. Some of my favorite shows ever have been ensembles. Like as a teenager, I was obsessed with Buffy. That's when it was airing. And
of course, Buffy got me through high school. Yeah, I love me some Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I do. Yeah.
What are other ensemble? There's so many good ones.
There's so many. I mean, Community's great. You know, I mean, there's. We could sit here for a long time. I default to It's Always Sunny, and because I enjoy how it's somehow progressive but very dark and controversial at the same time. It's an interesting place to inhabit.
Do you have your actors for the show?
Yeah, so Ava Val, Foad HP. No, he Cliff Knight?
Cliff Knight, yeah, for sure.
And Bones Poley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So did you have them in mind, like, as you were, when you were developing it?
Yeah, so Danton, I think it was actually Bones who came to Danton with this general idea and was like, I don't know how, but, like, I think someone should make this. And Danton was like, yup. And And so Danton had already been developing the idea and the concept, and then he brought me on early on as a writer, and then he's obsessed with me, and I'm a co-creator.
That's how the friendship and working relationship started between you and him?
I was just hitting his mics. Like on my first open mic I ever did was the Thursday at the Lab. So that it started, I just, I was a comedian who was there, and we were like, how'd you get like so much work at the Lab? I refused to leave. I stood outside of Danton's apartment building for weeks. So it started there, and then we just clicked. We are oddly similar. We got an odd couple thing because we visually couldn't look more different, but we actually have very similar personalities. We have this thing that happens to us all the time where we accidentally dress the same.
That's amazing.
Like the same. He wore the same shoes I wore to my wedding. He showed up with blue suede shoes, and I was wearing blue suede shoes. And we're like, this is ridiculous. And the number of times we've met up to write or work or something, and we're both wearing like the same Vans, a black hoodie, and jeans. It happens anyway. So we just clicked, and then he got onto so many projects with me. He's sort of stuck. He's doomed.
Sometimes you just have like a creative connection.
Yeah, right? And I'm just his little buddy. And I think he's got a big brother energy that I enjoy.
Where are you and your siblings?
So for a long time I was the youngest, and then we adopted my brothers. So now I have a younger brother who's a year younger than I am.
And how many older do you have? Two. Okay.
Two. Yeah.
Did you have a big brother growing up?
He's 1 year older than me. And then I have my biological sister is 5 years older than I am. Yeah. So the three of us were really close, and then my older sister.
I have two older sisters and an older brother, and I especially was influenced a lot by my sisters. And it's weird for me being in comedy because I'm always like the oldest woman, like because I started late, so I'm with a lot of newer people, and I'm like, I don't have a big sister around. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm trying to think of comics for that. Danton has like a maternal energy, which is a weird thing to say. He's got like Mother Goose energy. Yeah, which is maybe emasculating. I don't know, but anyway. So I think that like I feel like he'll forgive us, but yeah, he's been really important in the scene. Like
he's really good to new comics too. Like it's no coincidence that so many comics, when they're new, their main spot is the Lab mics. Like he just fosters an environment that is good for you. Yeah, he's
And I feel like just in terms of creating like a diverse space, like I feel like he did that without falling into the pitfalls that maybe other producers or spaces might fall into.
Yeah, and it's a learning process. Like, and anytime you try something new, and anytime you're in business, people aren't always going to like everything you do, but he always tries really hard to foster that community. And I think that's why he brought me on for such a big role, because I care about that too.
Yeah. And I guess the thing too, a lot of people who run a club are just like, not a lot. Some people, I don't know. Some people don't care about creating a community. They're not really like...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And it's everyone will say that their show is diverse, but we take it extremely seriously. So I don't know. But, and again, and I don't want to ever speak ill of other producers and stuff. But we want to be a space where particularly women and queer people can feel, and people of color can feel just comfortable, and we're not a safe space mic, but we are a safe mic. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because that's what I feel too, because there's certain pitfalls in being fully a safe space.
And those are important spaces, and we need those spaces, and I'm so glad that there are so many good safe spaces in the mic. But yeah, that's a very niche environment. So I feel like people at the Lab, I think of us as Pangea, or we're a land bridge. You know what I mean? Like, so it's I feel like you can do our room and then feel prepared for other rooms.
Yeah.
But not feel intimidated. Like it's I don't know how to explain it, but we're sort of neutral, but we're not. We're like, we'll ban your ass. We don't care, but
yeah.
Ooh, that's coming. But also not too, like, and we care more about how you are off stage than on stage, you know, because, you know, you'll see people go up and they'll say things and they'll be like, you're a troubled young man. It's always a man. You're a troubled young, you know, but if they are nice off stage, or at least, you know, respectful and not a creep off stage, then that we weigh more importantly than what you say on stage. And we don't overly restrict content. We have lines, and usually we'll talk to people off stage after if they cross a line. You know, so if it's really bad, we'll play them off. But Danton will be like, hey, that thing you said, don't do that again, you know, and people, and then there's some comics too that do edgier comics who generally do edgier rooms, who do the mic to learn how to do different rooms. Like it's good for both sides. Yeah, it's like a toxic straight relationship that I have. Like some of these like really edgy guys, I'm like, I can fix them. I can, yeah, it's not, yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people in the scene feel that way. Like I was talking to Callan T. Spence on here about incels, and he was saying something like, you know, like the way you prevent incels is by making them part of a bigger community, and then they normalize socially. Yeah. And then like when you're getting into edgier comics, they're not necessarily incels. They're just like people who enjoy being edgy, but that doesn't mean they're out there to fuck with people or be shitty.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're a bad, unsafe person necessarily.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and sometimes people, yeah, exactly.
And I think most comedians want the biggest audience they can get. So they want to know how they're being perceived by other types of audiences. We get comics
that are professional, dark and dirty comics that, come to the lab to figure out how to just make small adjustments to widen their opportunities. And we're happy to be that. Yeah, we don't overly censor. We have a line. Like there's a line. But it's we're fairly generous with it. And also, like, I've seen people come and be like there'll be a comic, and when they start coming to the lab, they're homophobic and not funny, you know. But then they keep doing the mic, they keep doing it, and then they start to understand what is ostracizing people. They learn, and they become less problematic. So I don't know.
Because I think there is something about it where it is like people don't get how they're being perceived.
Yeah, because they're not talking to each other. It's they're you know, like that's why the Pangea, like we're trying to bring the continents together a little bit. And I mean I think maybe it's growing up religious in a small town. A lot of bigotry is actually just ignorance. Like I don't know, and that a lot of homophobia I experienced came from people who had never interacted with gay people. Right? And then they met me and they're like, well, you're delightful. Maybe I was wrong, you know? So I don't know. I think that it's good to give people a chance. That's why Douche Rehab too, right? Like that's what that show is about, is the idea that, like, you know, you can change. People can change.
And I think it's like the mentality that you have like towards people, which is like, you're not just inherently one thing and you never change from being that thing.
And also, like, new comedians too. The most comics, the edgiest they are in their career is when they're brand new, because they're not funny yet.
Yeah.
And they're trying to elicit any reaction. And comics too. So we're especially lenient with new comics for their content on stage. Like, we'll let them get away with a lot more than we let pros get away with.
Can I just go like that? You
absolutely can. You absolutely can. As well, like if you're a new comedian, we understand the learning curve, and that and they always mellow out. Yeah. As they get funnier.
Yeah. And I think even for me, like, and I'm not edgy, but I just think I started a lot of my early bits with just like, I'm just going to reference 9/11. I'm going to reference the January 6th
riots. It's a phenomenon.
It's just like, because you're trying to surprise people. And that's the easiest way, is just say something provocative.
And then people get better, and they develop a skill set, and they don't have to lean on that. And then, you know, being shocking, being provocative, it can be still used in your set, but just intelligently. And if you use it sparingly, it's more effective. Yeah. Right? as well is part of it. And also comics learn how to cut tension instead of just build tension and then leave it there for me to go up and deal with while I'm hosting.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to be a comic that builds tension, the funny comes from breaking that tension.
Yeah.
And a lot of comics don't understand that. And they just build tension in a weird vibe and people feel uncomfortable and no one's having a good time. Like you can build tension. That's a totally valid way to do comedy. That's absolutely a style, but you have to break, like you have to do something. You know, 80% of stand-up comedy is them liking you.
Yeah.
A lot of comics are doing comedy and they think of it like it's for them. Like comedy is for the comedian. And it's like, if you want to be doing this professionally, no, they paid to be there. Like you are there for them. You should be thinking about them having a good time. I don't know. That's controversial opinion, but as a performer, entertainer, you should care about entertaining.
One of my mentors also said something to me about newer comics just being all premise of just sort of like just naming things that you find funny and interesting without like sort of giving the punchline.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I definitely was like that. I was like that for sure. Yeah.
And I feel I still find that sometimes, like I'm sitting down writing and I'm like, I'm just mentioning things I find funny. I'm not explaining it.
Yeah, and I think too when you're working on a new joke, I'll go up and I'll be like when I do try new stuff, often the first time I go up, I'll be like, this is not a joke yet. This is something I want to know if you guys think I should write a joke about it. Which maybe is lazy. I don't know.
No, I think it's good. Or like you have a story, but you're like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, and just shit it out.
Ooh. Oh, she's popping.
Sorry about that. But just kind of like shitting a story out and seeing what the audience reacts to.
Yeah. You know, I think it's Chris Rock. I could be wrong. But when he wants to do new stuff, he'll go to wherever he goes to try it, and he'll sit on the stool and he won't do it as Chris Rock. He'll just like read the jokes monotone and see if anything gets like a chuckle, and then that's what he goes. I think I could be wrong. It could be a different comedian.
That makes sense because his act has a lot of personality and like the way
it's Chris
he
Rock.
delivers it.
Yeah, exactly.
So he'll be
go
getting
up
laughs.
and he just reads premises from a notepad and sees what to see what's really funny and make sure they're not laughing just because he's who he is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I also should write more. I am really anal and intense about I fall into perfectionism, which can be really limiting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or like waiting for a great inspiration.
Yeah, and I mean what I've been doing too, like I want my special to be really cohesive. Like my debut album, I guess it wouldn't be special, it'd be album. So I am also doing a lot of just expanding what I have. I have as well as.
Yeah. I have to write more, and then I'm also looking back at older sets and going like, do I make it longer? Do I just make it better? Mm-hmm. I know everything has to be like 100% if I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. Something I love about comedy too is like a joke is never done. You can be doing something for 10 years and then you think of a new tag, which I also like. And I've started going back to jokes I wrote really early on that I thought were funny but never worked, and then realized I just wasn't a skilled enough performer to pull it off. And now I go back to it and I can. And that's always very interesting to revisit something I wrote in the first month of doing comedy or something. Maybe not that. No, that's pretty much all garbage. But first, 6 months. Things that I thought, I was like, this is funny, but it just doesn't work. And it's like, no, it works. I wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It's the confidence, I think.
You said you did writing as your specialty within the film program at TMU. Mm-hmm. Do you think it helped you?
Yes.
And like,
I don't know why I said that. Yes.
Was it just the practice of it, or like, what do you think you got from the film program?
I mean, I got a lot of things, and
specifically with the writing.
With the writing, I mean, I just realized that film school was trying to figure. I was like, do I want to be a director? Do I want to do this, that? And then I realized I like the creation of the story. I really enjoy that blueprint phase, and just it's a different style of writing, but it's transferable skills. And I also, like I said, I kept finding myself defaulting to comedy in my writing. And my thesis film I wrote and directed was a dark comedy. It was a comedy. It was a horror comedy. So I think it just was pushing me in that direction. So I think it helped me with stand up in that sense.
Do you have so
and now they help each other, I would say.
I don't know if you can see, this book is what I'm about to start reading.
Oh, I can't read.
And
no, I'm kidding. I can read.
But do you read? Like,
I not as much as I used to because I'm tired, but I try to read.
I guess what I'm asking is, like, do you have any screenwriting books that you're like people should, for those of us who are trying to figure out how to screenwrite?
Yeah.
Any advice, recommends?
I mean, for me, my screenplay writing background came from learning at school. Like I wouldn't have a book. For stand up, if you're getting into it, there's a guy, the Joke Doctor. And he has books that you have to pay for, but he also has a lot of free content on YouTube. And I think his YouTube is the Joke Doctor. And he's really great at breaking down joke structure and the fundamentals early on. And like, what are the laughter triggers and all these things. So for stand-up, I would recommend that. For screenplay writing, I mean, one helpful thing you can do, most scripts you can find them online. Like, think about... Like, pick your favorite movies and read them. Don't watch them. See how they're written. That's one thing you can do early on just to help, which is something that I definitely did. And it is interesting seeing how they're different. So, I don't know. That would be something I would say is,
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about Black Sheep? Because I know you work with them.
Yeah, I work for them. Black Sheep's been going for like 6 years, and they used to just be comedy. Well, not just comedy, but that used to be the only thing they did, and they branched out to trivia and music bingo and all these other things as well. And I'm a Black Sheep rescue. They got me out of retail. My Black Sheep job, they give me just enough work to keep my ass out of retail. No disrespect to people who are in retail. I just, I did my time. And
I think most of us want to be fully in entertainment.
Yeah,
right?
And they bridge that gap for me, and then the lab obviously helps as well now. But for a long time it was that. So I do all sorts of things with them. I book their shows and I host their shows, their comedy shows, and then I also run trivia and whatnot for them, and they send me to corporate gigs. I do mascotting work with them. Sometimes, and
what's harder, corporate gigs or mascotting?
Mascotting is physically demanding, but I love it. I don't know. It's a very demanding job. People spend so much money on it though too. So those are high paying. I enjoy mascotting. Not everyone likes it. You're sweating and it's crazy, but I enjoy the physical endurance. I go really hard. Corporate gigs are all different, so it's hard to put them together.
Oh, okay.
Like you never know what you're walking into with a corporate gig. And it's often businesses, and that's very, work culture to work culture. It's very different depending on where you're walking in. They're fun. It's not always it's been stand up a couple times. It's been trivia sometimes. Sometimes, like, they've hired me out. People just want a personality at their work party. Like, you're at work, but you're having fun. Woo! Like, just, it's,
oh my God.
It's, yeah.
Is that stressful?
Yeah. And also things like emceeing fundraisers or emceeing parties or...
Okay, so I went to this fundraiser for Women's College Hospital, and they had this person who emceed at one point, but it wasn't the whole thing, but there was like a fundraising portion, and there were screens up, and everyone had their phones out, and there was an app, and you could donate. Right. And this person, it was almost like an auction. They weren't auctioning anything though, but they were like getting everyone riled up to like donate, and then
that's what I'm good at.
The donations were going up on the screen, and I was like, this person, like, there was like over 1,000 people in finance in this room donating to this hospital. It's probably their biggest thing that year, and a lot of the donations happen in this span of a few minutes with this person, and I was like, that is like a incredibly stressful, and you would have to be so good at it,
and that's so the important kind of thing that I would get hired to do. For sure.
I would not fucking do that.
It's there has to be something, I think, wrong with you. For sure. I like it. I'm more of a camp counselor than I am a comedian. I like it. I like getting the people going. People are like, where does your energy come from? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because I thought about you when I first started hosting, and I was like, because I don't have that, and you can't have fake it.
You don't have to have that. There's lots of hosts that are not as manic as I am. That's just my style. I don't think that it's the only one. I mean, Danton does so much hosting, and he's way more low key than I am.
Yeah, you guys are very,
very different.
Opposite.
Very different. Yeah. So there's not one way to do it, you know. But I definitely.
I'm still jealous of it though.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'm turning into a pterodactyl.
What would happen if you tried to host something with like George Rivard and you both had that?
I don't know. That's interesting. George has never asked me to host anything. No, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done that much co-hosting. The actual Consent Couch has been the main place where I've done that. That's been interesting to feel different levels. I think we'd probably balance each other out. I think it's hard to know. I think if I co-hosted with a lower energy, he's also not actually that low energy. I
was thinking of him as another
as a high energy
type.
Yeah. Because I was like, I thought that's where we were going. I was like, well, actually, no, George isn't though, is he? I mean, I've hosted with Vanessa Prevost, and we just feed off of each other. Actually, it can be kind of nice hosting with another high energy comic because you can take turns. One of you can be going off and the other one can be disassociating for a little bit, and then you can come back. Because my energy isn't actually limitless. I do that's why I'm introverted at home. I go home and I play video games. I don't talk to nobody. You know, I'm surprisingly quiet. And I think a lot of my energy comes from other people. I'm very classically extroverted in that way. When I'm around people, my energy goes up.
Yeah.
So I think hosting with Vanessa, who's another high energy comic, like it's just loud.
Did you ever think about going into something like your dad? Like,
oh yeah, I wanted to be a priest for a long time. Yeah, when I was a wee lad, and then I stopped wanting to do that.
Are you religious or spiritual?
Spiritual, yeah. I believe in God. I just also think that we don't know what that is. My favorite line in the Bible is infinitely more than we could ask or imagine. You know, I think we like to make things tangible, and we also like to center human beings in the universe for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though obviously we've accomplished a lot, but we're also, I don't know. It wasn't that long ago we were just wandering around the Sahara trying not to get murdered by snakes. Like, we're not. I don't think that I don't think God is a person. You know, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I don't think we were actually. I think I get very big and cosmic with it. So yeah. I believe in God, and I believe that there's a lot of things we don't understand about the universe, but I don't think that it's a dude.
I feel similarly, like where I think we want to explain things, so we intellectualize and come up with reasons, and maybe it should be more in the reverence department and marveling at a mystery.
I think it's pretty brazen to think that we know exactly what the divine is. I think we don't know most. Like, we don't know. I don't know. I think that's dramatically overestimating our intelligence. I do, but I take a lot of comfort in the not knowing, which is, I think, counterintuitive. I think a lot of people, that's what they don't like. I think there's something profound and comforting that there's so much more than us. For me, that's a comforting notion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoy being put into perspective like that.
Yeah.
I like being smaller. And I think I like the idea of being a part of something intangible, something beyond, beyond this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice.
you know.
Do you ever think about starting a cult or a coven? Or
sure,
anything?
Working on it. Absolutely. I think I would be a great cult leader. I do. I think I have the personality for it. That's actually my main goal. Yeah.
Comedy is a stepping stone. You gotta.
Absolutely. So I think I could do it. I think I could be a charismatic cult leader. I don't know what we would do. or believe, but yeah, no, definitely. I know we'd all wear the same thing.
What would we wear?
Pink cowboy hats.
Exactly.
And maybe, like, flight suits or something.
What's a flight suit?
Like a mechanic will wear the one.
Yeah. Like, so in the Star Trek kind of.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I always feel like Star Trek got the future costume
pretty right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gays are wearing right now. Yeah. I think you're absolutely correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you a sci-fi person?
I'm a big nerd in general. So
okay.
Yeah. I am not cool. I like video games. I like comic books. I like sci-fi. I like
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm big on utopias and dystopias.
Yeah. It's interesting that those are the things that we think about. The extremes.
Yeah.
you know? It's, and I, you know what, and anytime I write, it's hyper realities. I like to take normal characters or normal, whatever, normal people, typical people, and put them into extreme situations. So I think it's interesting.
Where did you do stand-up the first time?
The Comedy Lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you?
That's a great question. How old am I now? That's a terrible noise to make into your mic. I feel like you have clips for these, and your clips of me are just gonna be like, and like just a lot of sound effects, a lot of. I think I was 24.
So you were out of school in that mystery space.
I was floating around. Like, you leave something like art school, and there's not one direction; there's every direction. And I was just trying to figure out where to go, what the path is. And people, when you're asking for help and mentorship going into the arts, it's very mystical. They're like, the path will reveal itself. And, or they'll be like, you'll be fine. I'll be like, okay, great. So I was out there wandering around the streets trying to figure out what to do. And then I stumbled into comedy, and I couldn't stop. And it makes sense. I was a theater kid, and I was damn good at it. Community theater, Napanee. I just... top dog. I'm one of the only dogs. So it makes sense. Like, it's writing and performing, and those are things that I've historically enjoyed. So it's the kind of thing that I stumbled into it on accident. Am I American? By accident, but then it makes sense in hindsight.
Yeah.
You know. And I've always been a silly goof.
And you just knew the first time you did it?
I was like, I got pretty addicted to it pretty fast.
It feels like with your energy, you'd have to have some kind of outlet for it.
Yeah, I am very depressed if I'm not doing things. And having an outlet like that. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, for sure. Sorry.
So, wrapping up, is there anything coming up? I'm trying to think. This will drop on this Thursday.
Okay.
So, is there anything you want to...
Come to the Comedy Lab. Come to it. Consent Couch. It's been
You guys are
fun.
Expanding at the Comedy Lab?
Yeah, so the upstairs is now going to be as well as a stage space.
Is amazing.
Yeah, very excited. Very excited about that. So I think we're hoping to have a stage, like have that room set up by next Saturday. We'll see if that happens. We are comedians. But at least in the next couple weeks, we're hoping to.
Coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's like eventually the basement will be the cabaret space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when a club has the kind of the big space and the little space. They have the big room
and they have the little room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the goal. And we're not gonna paint graffiti up there. We're gonna do a neon sign. But we're very excited. So come to the Comedy Lab.
Nice. Okay. I feel
Canada's
like
only black
is
and
like
queer
a new
comedy club.
This is a new era.
Right? Yeah, and people are going to be so annoyed. They've had to like run around. We've been changing things so much. They're not going to come back to the lab. And then this last week we've been so busy, and every comic has come back, and that makes me really happy.
I love it. So. You guys do an amazing job. Where do we find you on socials?
Yeah. So, I mean, my main internet dwelling is Instagram. I am on TikTok, but RIP.
Mickey is spelled
so it's
like the mouse.
Like the mouse. So Mickey spelled like the mouse, Mickey, and then Dykeman spelled like the homophobic slur, Dykkeman. So Mickey Dykeman.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, very real part of my life.
And you did name yourself after Mickey Mouse?
No, it's just frame of reference. It sounds kind of like my dead name. It's like the same amount of letters, and it starts with the same letter, so it's...
okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a good name for you.
Thanks. Yeah. You know, I'm sure I'm on Disney's litigation pile. I'm sure they're going to get to me. I'm going to get a cease and desist here.
There's no one they won't sue.
No. And isn't Mickey common domain now? So, I'm going to start putting him on my merch. First, I got to get merch, but
I'm gonna print my own Mickey t-shirts.
Yeah, it'll just be like the outline of the mouse, but my realistic face. It's gonna be haunting. It's gonna be the stuff of nightmares.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Mickey.
Thank you for having me.